In a world where developing countries are facing the worst debt crisis in history, with almost half their budgets being spent on paying back their creditors, certain African countries are doing the unthinkable by freeing themselves from these terrible debts. According to a report by the campaign group Debt Relief International for Norwegian Church Aid, more than 100 countries are struggling to service their debts, resulting in them cutting back on investment in various sectors of these nations, such as health, education, among others. Many countries in the global south were already in or near debt crisis before the coronavirus crisis began, and the economic impacts of the crisis have made the situation far worse. In a remarkable economic turnaround, Burkina Faso's GDP has surged from $18.8 billion to $22.1 billion during President Ibrahim Traore's regime, a striking 18% growth rate in just 2 years. Not ending there, the Sahel country is rapidly swimming, not in debts, but experiencing a debt-free movement under the captain. Burkina Faso, long subject to foreign influence and exploitation, is writing a new chapter in its history under Africa's youngest leader. The country is aggressively pursuing an economic self-reliance journey to find itself in a new zone of sustained economic growth and development. Many questions come through. How has the country managed to find itself in a new zone of clearance of debts that can shatter a nation's economic outlook? Burkina Faso's economy is now free from the heavy burden of external debt. The country has managed to clear its $4.7 billion external debt. The Ministry of Finance announced these best news recently, that the nation has paid off its debt. But how has Burkina Faso under President Ibrahim Traore managed to achieve this remarkable milestone? In a major shift for Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traore announced some big changes to enable the country to cut on unnecessary expenditure and also create new reforms in various sectors of the nation. These changes and reforms weren't for his own benefits, but to see that the country had been swimming in all kinds of problems mankind has ever seen, such as terrible climatic conditions, hunger, prolonged conflicts, and poor governance come to an end. As it is now clear that President Ibrahim Traore refused to be paid huge salaries and decided to be just receiving a salary of a captain, he didn't stop there but also went on to slash the huge salaries paid to government workers, most especially call them political or executives. This meant that workers, let's say, health workers that the country needs more, can also take a significant share while simultaneously saving huge money for other purposes. The captain went on to reform various sectors, most especially revenue-generating ones. From nationalizing gold mines to entering into new succulent deals with various foreign and willing nations that are ready to work with Burkina Faso on a basis of mutual benefit. In one of his interviews, President Ibrahim Traore said that they cannot let others take their wealth while the people struggle. This has worked. Burkina Faso's government says it has generated over $18 billion in revenue from gold mining since President Ibrahim Traore's rise into power in 2022. The country's mining minister said that the revenue has been a vital part of government efforts to strengthen the economy and fund public services, including healthcare, education, and security. For long, in the Sahel, including Mali, international companies had been extracting gold worth billions of dollars, while local communities reap scant benefits from it. Burkina Faso, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, is flipping that script with a pan-Africanist approach. Revolutionists like this President Ibrahim Traore had been asking, why a country sitting on some of Africa's largest gold reserves struggles, Yet most profits have enriched overseas shareholders rather than contributing meaningfully to local economies and creating jobs. These and more reforms have been fundamental in assisting Burkina Faso to achieve a remarkable goal of freeing itself from debts. African countries' total external debt totaled at more than $1.152 trillion recently and continues to spiral through 2025 and on. Not only are more African countries borrowing more, they are drawing credit from more foreign, including private sources, and using more of their meager internal revenues to service interest on existing loans. The IMF, or International Monetary Fund, and its various associated agencies, such as Transparency International, World Bank, among others, pressure governments in vulnerable African countries to further erode their state capacity by shutting down regulatory departments and reducing their own competence to negotiate agreements with Western creditors and multinational mining companies. For a minerals-rich nation like this Burkina Faso, resource-backed loans are a divisive topic. While they can help cash-strapped countries raise money for crucial development projects, transparency is often lacking or simply non-existent, especially when used by governments with poor financial governance. For the poorest countries, debt has become a nearly paralyzing burden. 28 countries eligible to borrow from the World Bank's International Development Association, IDA, are now at high risk of debt distress. Burkina Faso. Getting rid of debts has been a cornerstone of its finance for a long time. There are definite advantages to be gained from paying off debts. This means the country is now experiencing smooth cash flow while achieving control over its finances. Now, more money is available for emergencies and investing for the future. Becoming debt-free is something we might all think of as a big step towards Burkina Faso's financial freedom. Indeed, the West African country is eagerly coming out from various problems hence. Having these cumulative debts can even bring much more stress and overwhelm to the nation. Many African countries face a cycle of borrowing that leads to unsustainable debt burdens, often exacerbated by poor spending and challenging global economic conditions. While some countries have seen growth and stability, others struggle with high debt levels, low revenue generation, and limited access to affordable financing. This situation is further complicated by global economic factors like rising interest rates and trade uncertainty, which can increase the cost of borrowing and hinder development efforts. President Ibrahim Traore is focusing on economic autonomy to reduce reliance on foreign aid and harness internal resources. This strategy, including debts clearances we are talking about, and also aligned with the alliance of Sahel states alongside Mali and Niger, reflects a push for economic sovereignty. Burkina Faso under President Ibrahim Traore has rejected financial assistance from the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, asserting Burkina Faso's capacity to develop independently. The focus on self-reliance, resource control, and economic diversification ambitiously holds the potential to drive significant development and improve the lives of the people in this land of the upright. At a time of increasing global uncertainty and a decline in international aid, certain African countries are striving for self-reliance and control of their resources. Like many African countries, Burkina Faso is blessed with natural resources that could transform citizens' lives. When it comes to gold, President Ibrahim Traore is even seeing a more balanced economy with a prosperous financial system. Now that the country is going to be able to have gold in significant reserves, it will not be just for selling, but also maintain the country's financial flows. Gold has always been in demand for ages due to its limited supply, inherent value, and valuable retention. The demand for gold as an instrument of investment has always been preferred due to its flexibility, rarity, cultural values, and opulence. Burkina Faso, now having full control of this precious metal, is heavily going to play a pivotal role in influencing trades, transforming monetary policies, and hedging against inflation and deflation alike. Gold is highly liquid, serves as an effective exchange medium, and can be converted to cash instantly. Thus, it acts like a currency in many ways. It stores value and offers stability and security during financial emergencies, currency depreciation, political dishevels, and unforeseen externalities. Following President Ibrahim Traore's reforms initiated after his rise into power, Burkina Faso is transitioning from a centrally planned economy to a socialist-oriented market economy. This shift has led to significant economic growth and improvements in living standards, including a dramatic increase in GDP per capita and a reduction in poverty. These reforms are rapidly transforming Burkina Faso from a primarily agrarian economy to one with a growing industrial and construction sector. The country is now prioritizing the development of specific sectors like heavy industry, natural resource-based industries, and export-oriented industries. Despite lack of direct aid that President Ibrahim Traore is resistant to, like the collapse of USAID among others, the country's economy continues to grow like crazy, demonstrating its resilience. The success of Burkina Faso's reforms is attributed to the government's commitment to reform, the gradual and phased implementation, and the ability to adapt to changing conditions.